Hey y'all, welcome to episode 12 of DEI in 5. Today we're going to be talking about some common diversity, equity, and inclusion roles that exist both internally within an organization and externally for consultants. I'll touch on some of the core skills and experiences that are typically needed for each role. This is not an exhaustive list, but it should be helpful for those of you that are interested in exploring or even transitioning your career into DE&I. I won't really be giving my opinion today on these roles, or at least I'm going to try to do my best not to. But if you want me to do a deeper dive or share my thoughts, please feel free to drop a comment below. So, to start, there are typically three groups of internal DEI roles. There are leadership roles, there are project or program management roles, and then there are usually coordinator roles. So, starting with the leadership roles, typically, this is your chief diversity officer or CDO and your vice president of DEI or VP of DEI. These roles are responsible for developing and implementing the overall DEI strategy for an organization. The CDO in particular is typically responsible for the organization's overall strategy, which means that they're setting the vision for the strategy, they're identifying goals, they're creating policies, etc. In an ideal world, a CDO is usually seated with the rest of senior or executive leaders of an organization, and they should be working closely alongside them to ensure that DEI is pretty much integrated across the board, right? So working with directors, partners, and any other key stakeholders to ensure that DEI is integrated. In an ideal world, the VP of DEI is usually overseeing DEI initiatives within an organization. So if there's a DEI team, they're usually managing the individuals on that team. They're generally working with leaders across the company as well as with the HR or people teams to ensure that DEI, again, is being integrated across the organization. So there's a lot of overlap between the CDO and the VP roles, but how I usually like to think about them is like the CDO sets the vision for the DEI strategy, the VP makes it happen. Hopefully that helps you. For both roles, you should have a significant amount of experience working hands-on in the DEI space, and it's kind of hard to quantify that, but typically from what I've seen, someone has held several DEI roles or worked in DEI in a variety of capacities at an organizational level before moving into a VP or CDO role. You should also have a deep understanding of DEI principles and theory, strong inclusive leadership and management skills, and of course, the ability to not only develop a strategy but implement it, which requires a lot of detail around change management. So next, the second bucket, like I said, are our DEI program or project manager roles. So this is folks in these roles are typically responsible for overseeing and managing the implementation of the various components of the strategy. So all of the DEI initiatives, such as training programs, policy development, recruiting efforts, etc. A good example of this, would be the employee resource group manager or ERG program manager that is typically responsible for managing the ERGs, right? Very meta, but that is a common role that falls under sort of that program or project management bucket. Ideally, a DEI program or project manager has a decent amount of experience with project management, strong communication and interpersonal skills because you're usually working with a lot of folks, and also a good understanding of and knowledge of DEI principles and practices. Ideally, you've participated in at least a handful, not even a handful, let's say a couple DEI efforts, right? It could be you were a employee resource group leader or you were involved in some recruiting program or process, but you've had some hands-on experience with DEI. And then finally, our third bucket are our DEI coordinators. These folks are making sure everything runs smoothly. So they are so critical, right? All of the DEI initiatives require a significant amount of support and coordination to make it happen, right? So DEI coordinators are typically working very closely with program and project managers to ensure that the execution happens, right? So thinking about the logistical pieces, event management, managing budgets, scheduling meetings, tracking progress of goals in whatever sort of tracker or metrics thing you have, tool you have going. And DEI coordinators typically have significant administrative experience, event planning experience, budget management, and at least a baseline understanding of DEI and an interest in learning more. So, like I said, those are the three primary buckets. Externally, both with independent consultants and consulting groups, it's pretty common to see people focus on particular areas or to have sort of a specialty, if you will. So you'll see like gender and sexuality specialists, you'll see anti-racism facilitators, you'll see DEI strategy specialists who really focus heavily, or DEI analysts who focus really heavily on the data. They're working in Excel to look at some of the quantitative pieces as well as the qualitative pieces and try to make different, pull different things from that. That's not my area. I do some analysis, but I am usually not deep in the weeds in the analytics and will often reach out to other folks for things like that. And then finally, you have your more generalized DEI coaches and consultants, sort of like myself, who help individuals and teams and organizations from an external standpoint address, things like personal and systemic biases, deepen their understanding of DEI principles and practices, or even help them develop a strategy because they don't have, or they're not at the point where they're ready to hire a CDO or a VP or someone like that. So typically coaches and consultants who, specialize in those areas of expertise will have a lot of experience in those areas. Of course, if you are a consultant, you want to have a strong amount of hands-on DEI experience, strong communication, interpersonal skills, and also a significant understanding of just business in general, especially if you are an independent consultant or entrepreneur. That was certainly a learning curve for me because I don't have an MBA, didn't have a formal business background. So I was kind of learning, and I'm still learning as I go, right? So that's it for today. I hope this video was helpful. If you have questions, comments, please leave a comment below, obviously. And please be sure to share, like, and subscribe to my channel for more. This is DEI in 5 bite-sized discussions on diversity, equity, inclusion. New videos drop every weekday. Hope to see you back here soon. All right, y'all. Until later.